Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. This time we're going to be taking a look at some of the Twitter cards that have been released. And by the looks of it, it's more Targon. And I am excited for more Targon cards. I'm assuming we're only going to get Targon releases now. We might get a Piltover release, the champion, but it's looking to not be like that. Because there are still more Targon champions that have yet to be revealed, and I'm excited. New keyword, Invoke. Pick a celestial card, okay, from among three to create in hand. Okay, let's break this down. So, celestial cards are cards that are obviously special cards in some capacity. I don't know if they're, I don't think, actually, I think they're going to be like treasures where they're not main deckable. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. So I'm guessing that celestial cards are not main deckable, and that you have to create them specifically or get them through the Invoke effect, which means that Invoke provides value that no other cards can. So that in itself is a pretty powerful concept. It just depends on how strong these celestial cards are and how they vary and how many there are. Like, okay, 4 mana, 2/3, Mountain Scryer. Your celestial cards cost 1 less. Okay. Allegiance. This is the Allegiance card, Invoke. So, the card I would relate this most to is Yordle Grifter. It has 1 less attack, but its effect is basically the Blackwater Merchant's effect, where the card that you're getting is that you get from the Allegiance is minus. It costs 1 less, basically. So in that sense, it's a Yordle Grifter is a pretty good card, and it's a pretty good card because it's a 3/3 and it's an okay body. This is a 2/3, which is less so. Honestly, the -1 attack kind of hurts this card quite a bit, but maybe the Invoke is worth it. Maybe the Invoke gives you so much value, and having your celestial cards cost 1 less is worth it. Perhaps it's that strong of a concept, and that you would run this card with any Invoke deck. Because this can definitely be something an Invoke deck centers around. I can see that. So this is probably a card that is the most dependent on. I haven't seen any other cards, but this card is probably the one that's most dependent on how good Invoke is, given that its entire effects is dependent on celestial cards. Alright, Spacey Stretcher. A 1 mana 1/1. Play. Discard a card to invoke a celestial card that costs 3 or less. So basically it's a 1-drop that has some discard value. Discard support for Targon? That's interesting. I mean, you can discard a gem. Yeah, this card can just discard a gem, and then you get the invoke value. That's pretty good. Celestial card that costs 3 or less. That's also pretty interesting. I don't know what the Celestials are and what they do, but I'm assuming that there's going to be a lot of them, and they're going to range in cost, given the text here. So, a 1 mana card that discards a card to produce another card that I'm pretty sure is not main deckable and could be pretty strong. There's a lot of potential with this card. A lot of potential, and it might even be run outside of a pure Invoke deck, which is a good sign for this card. This card has some synergies in discard as well, And sometimes maybe a discard deck wants to have to invoke and get a Celestial card. Maybe that's what you want. That would be interesting. I think Targon needs some more discard support for that to be a thing, but I like the idea behind it. I really do. Perhaps you don't even run this in a discard deck. Maybe you just run this with P and Z, and like you get mushrooms and you discard the mushrooms or something, or you discard the gems. There's a lot of new discard targets with this new expansion, so I can see this card seeing a lot of play. And I just love the art. I love this art. Beautiful. 3 mana 2/1 Lunari Priestess, Nightfall Invoke. Alright, this card makes me think. It reinforces the feeling that Invoke and the Celestial cards that you get from them are pretty strong. At least. Since, like, for 3 mana, you're getting a 1 minion stat line. A 2/1. There's 1 mana 2/1s running around everywhere in Runeterra right now. And you're getting it for 2 more mana. So you're spending 2 more mana to get a conditional invoke off. This is probably, man, this is a pretty weak card. Even if Invoke is pretty good. I mean, maybe you'll run it just for the Invoke synergy, but I think this is probably the weakest card we've seen so far. Though I will say that if Invoke is as good, if the Celestial cards that you get from Invoke are as good as I think they are, then you probably just run this anyways. Oh! Huh. So this is like the Lunari Priestess, except the stat line is switched. The condition is Daybreak, which is arguably easier to trigger on most turns. And it is a Celestial card that costs 4, 5, or 6, so it narrows down the range. Huh. Yeah, this one's better than the Lunari Priestess in my opinion. Though you can only, here's the thing, you can only play one of them in a turn. Though, I'm assuming by the time you want to play this, it is on around 3. Or 3, 4, or 5. 1 mana, 3 mana 1/2 is severely understated, to say the least. At most, it's a chump blocker. It is a surprising loss in tempo, and that's definitely the biggest weakness of this card. But I'm assuming that the value that it gives you upon play warrants this. Warrants its cost and stats. So, yeah. Okay. I'm starting to get more and more convinced that these Celestial cards are really strong. A 5 mana 3/5 Moon Dreamer. Play Invoke. Okay. This is a body. From what I've seen, that most of the Invoke cards have really weak bodies. This is a 5 mana 3/5. I mean, by this time, 5 health is not, like, at 5 mana, there's a lot of 5 mana cards that have 5 attack or more. So this card is not going to be going into them very well. This card will be going into some of the cards before them, like the 4 cost and the 3 cost. So in that way, its stat line is okay. And 3 mana is enough for like those 3 and 4 drops. The Invoke effect, though, might make this absolutely auto-include in certain Invoke decks, because it has an okay body with the Invoke effect that you don't have a condition for. So this is probably one of the easiest ways to invoke the cards that we've seen so far, since it's not hidden behind a condition. Like, one's hidden by Alliance, another's Daybreak, though Daybreak is pretty easy. One's Nightfall, another one is Discard. All of those have to like meet a condition or pay something to get that invoke value earlier on. While this one, at 5 mana, you just play it and you get it. Which definitely feels good. Though I assume at this time, Celestial cards, I don't know if Celestial cards can, like, turn the game for you. So there's that. That is the big question. So when you drop this, would you want to get that Celestial card? That is the question. All right, my pizza is ready. So I'll finish off with, oh god. Finish off with this one. Behold the Infinite. 2 mana burst speed spell, Invoke. Holy crap. Forget what I said before. This is the easiest way and the cheapest way to get your Invoke card off. This is basically 2 mana draw 1. That's pretty good. Considering that Salvage is 2 mana draw, 4 mana draw 2. So it's the same value, basically, with the Invoke synergy. This is going to be auto-include in many Invoke decks. And maybe even outside of Invoke decks, or of decks that just are interested in the Celestial cards. I see there's a lot of potential in this card, depending on how good Celestial cards are. With that being said, that's all the cards, I believe. I am just going to guess right now it's going to be Zoe that's going to be released tomorrow, and I'm excited, and I hope you are too. And with that being said, see you all on the next one. Bye-bye.